All right, everybody, welcome back. We are in week 12, show number 12 of the Other Side Sports Show podcast. We're now on iTunes officially as of this weekend, I believe.
About time. Finally, Apple finally got us approved.
Emmons got us set up on iTunes. So, speaking of John Emmons, how you doing, John Emmons? How you doing, buddy?
Great, man, as always. Excited to do the show with you and Matthew when he joins us, and we'll have Austin on tonight as well to talk some hockey. So pretty excited.
Yeah, hockey. Woo!
Your favorite.
Yeah, you know I love hockey. So you said we got Austin coming on. We're gonna talk about Major League Baseball, what's been going on in there. Talk about some Player of the Month. Talk about Anthony Rizzo. And then we're gonna talk about, like you said, Austin's gonna join us. We're gonna talk about the NHL Finals. Game 1 last night. The Knights took it in. Was it overtime or did they take it?
No, it was regulation 5-4. Pretty crazy game.
I thought it was 6-4.
Oh, well, 6-4 the empty netter. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we're going to have hold up after the NHL stuff, and then we're going to move into the NBA playoffs. Talk about, where do the Rockets go from here, kind of what did them in for the series, and then we'll talk about if LeBron James can will this Cavaliers team to overcome the Golden State Warriors.
Maybe a hot take incoming. Stay tuned.
So, and then Matthew will close us out with his What's on His Mind topic. I think he has one ready. So that'll be interesting. So we'll start off with talking about Anthony Rizzo. Rizzo actually was kind of involved in a dirty play over the weekend. He was coming into home. Bases were loaded, 0 outs. They were already up 3-0, I think, in the game. It was like the 8th inning, 8th or 9th, so it was late in the game. And Rizzo bases loaded. It's a ground ball to the infield. Third baseman throws it home to get the out, and as the catcher is turning to first base to throw it down to try to get the double play, Rizzo slides into home plate, kicks his legs out, hits the catcher. Catcher airmails the ball into right field because, he got hurt, like he injured his leg. 2 runs scored, Cubs go up 5-0. Rizzo was not ejected or suspended or anything like that as far as MLB has announced. He definitely wasn't ejected from the game. MLB did come out today and say that the slide was illegal and should have been runner's interference, thus resulting in 2 outs and no runs scored. So I'll lead off with this one. The question is, should Anthony Rizzo have been ejected or suspended for his slide against Pirates catcher Elias Diaz? And the answer is yes. He should have been, not only should he have been ejected from the game, he should then have been suspended for at least 5 games. At least 5 games. The whole point of eliminating catcher collisions was to protect the catcher. It's not like football. These guys don't have helmets on whenever they're getting collided into. And the whole point of changing the slide rule to make it so players can't slide cleats first or intentionally go out of the baseline to slide and hit players is to avoid injury. Now, Rizzo didn't necessarily go out of the baseline, but he definitely didn't slide straight at home plate because the catcher stepped out kind of into the field of play, and Rizzo, while maintaining his path to home plate, did kick his leg out and did intentionally hit Diaz in the leg. You can very clearly see it from the tape if you just watch the clip. So he needs to be suspended because baseball can't let him slide on it, no pun intended. Otherwise, other players are going to do this, and somebody's seriously going to get hurt. Luckily, they just looked at Diaz. He was fine. He finished the game, and he was good to go after that. But that could have been something that, he's a catcher too. So, he literally, his livelihood depends on getting up and down out of a crouch. And that's already tough on your knees and on your legs. So, the fact that Rizzo is going to slide into him, not looking to injure him, but that's overall the most likely outcome in that scenario. He's got to be suspended for that.
Yeah, I can't really disagree. I mean, like you said, it's more of setting a principle too. I mean, it's definitely a dirty slide. I mean, if you watch the video, he clearly is putting his leg out, but because the catcher's in front of home plate, right? He's not right at home plate. His leg goes out. He catches the back of his leg. I mean, he could have seriously gotten hurt. I mean, there's a reason they make these protection rules for the catcher. It was clearly intentional. With that, it being intentional, I mean, the intentional thing to me is what really deems a suspension. Like you said, I mean, you just can't just let him slide and let these players continue to do things like this. So I think a 5-game suspension would be fine. in my book. You gotta send a message to these guys. I mean, you can't trying to intentionally hurt people. I mean, I doubt he on his mind he was like, "Hey, I'm going to intentionally hurt this guy." Obviously, you want to try and get some runs, but at the same time, you got to protect these players.
Right, and Diaz was smart enough. He's a major league ball player. He knows what he's doing. He knew it was a force out at the plate. He caught the ball on the plate and then stepped out into the out of the baseline so he could throw down to first and not be behind the runner, so he wouldn't hit the runner with the ball. So Rizzo, if you haven't seen the video, just go watch the video. It's clear as day that he slid out and he intentionally meant to hit him. There's no questioning it at all. And if anybody tries to defend Rizzo and say, well, it's kind of close, he was just sliding, maybe it was just a bad slide. No, it was not a bad slide.
It wasn't a bad slide.
It was not a bad slide. He literally had bad intentions. Like Emmons said, and like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean he meant to hurt him. He wasn't trying to hurt him. He was just trying to break up the double play. But that being said, you have to slide towards the base. You can't intentionally slide to hit the player.
It's almost reminds me of somewhat of a defenseless player in football, right? I mean, he's literally, like you said, he knew it was a force out at the plate. He steps in front of the plate. Anthony Rizzo slides outwards to clip his leg. At that point, he's defenseless. I mean, he's not prepping himself to get kicked, or not kicked, but slid into in the back of the leg at that time. So he's not, bracing himself for a possible injury. So I mean, like you said, I don't think he was intentionally trying to hurt him, but you can't purposely slide into somebody like that.
Yeah, and nothing is going to come out of this. Rizzo is not going to be suspended because Diaz didn't get hurt. I feel like if Diaz would have really gotten hurt, then a suspension might have followed. But because no injury resulted, no long-term injury resulted from this, he's not going to get any kind of penalty at all. He might just get a talking to. The MLB just might contact the Cubs and say, "Hey, you can't do this. Tell Rizzo not to do this anymore."
Right.
So let's move on. Let's talk about some good stuff going on in baseball. That's some players of the month. So I limited this to position players only. And I think for next month, I haven't discussed this with Emmons or Matthew yet, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it. For next month, I'm going to open it up, and we're not going to do AL and NL. We're going to do AL and NL tonight and do position players only. But next month, we're not going to do AL and NL. We're going to do entire MLB, and then we're going to do one pitcher and one position player. So we'll do one player of the month, one pitcher of the month, and then for the entire league. And that'll kind of open up our options more too, because I think we're all going to have kind of the same players.
For sure.
So lead me off with your NL player of the month. Who do you
NL player?
Who are you nominating?
Let me click over here. NL had a few top guys. For me, it's Scooter Gennett. I don't really know how to exactly pronounce his last name.
Gennett.
He's batting .404 over the last 30 days. He's got 8 home runs, which is 4 more than Crawford, who I originally thought. His OBP is lower than Crawford at 426, but he's got a slugging percentage of 742, and his OPS is 1.167, all higher than Crawford besides his OBP. Kid's tearing it up.
Yeah, I have 2 other names to throw out there, and that's Brandon Crawford, like you mentioned, and Nolan Arenado.
Yeah, Arenado's having a great month.
But just looking at the numbers, Scooter Gennett's way above both of them.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not going to get any argument from me there. So I'm actually willing to just go ahead and nominate Scooter Gennett as NL Player of the Month.
At first I look at it and I'm looking at Crawford right away. I mean, you see the 426 average, the sky high 462 on base percentage. Slugging's not horrible at 649. He got the OPS of 1.110. And he's just 4 more home runs in 2 less games and 5 less at bats. The RBIs, he has 3 more. So I mean, it's just he's having an impressive month.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's definitely the leader. So,
yeah, I mean, Nick Markakis also isn't having a horrible month.
Yeah, Nick Markakis is swinging well. He's been swinging well all season, but definitely not better than Gennett.
No. There's a lot of guys, having this month was pretty clear to me who the top guys were. But I mean, there's still some guys like Marquez somehow has 105 at bats.
Yeah, the other guy I was gonna throw around, not so much on the power numbers and the RBI numbers, but Christian Yelich of the Brewers. Yeah. He's stolen 6 bases without being caught in the last 30 days, and then he's also scored 22 runs. He bats at the top of that Brewers lineup, and he's got a lot of firepower behind him to really rake it in. So
before we move on to the AL, man, I mean, I keep seeing Brave guys pop up in these. Like, the Braves are just not really slow. I mean, what's his name got really hurt though, didn't he?
Acuna Jr. He's all right. He went to the 10-day DL.
Okay, so he's fine.
Yeah, he should be. I think he's slated to be back against when they play the Dodgers next week. On the 10th is what I believe he can come back.
I mean, you look at Marquez, so he's batting 381. I mean, obviously he's not that big of a power guy, but he's got 3 home runs over the last 30 days, which isn't horrible. And then Freddie Freeman, he's tearing it up this year too.
Yeah, if you actually sort by year total, Freddie Freeman is 4th in the league, batting 333.
Yep.
So I don't see Marquez on there.
Marquez for year to date,
he's second.
341. Yeah, he's 341. He's got 7 home runs.
I was looking for him lower than that, but he's not lower than that. Yeah, that Braves team is really good. Like I said, their downfall is going to be their pitching. If they have a downfall, it'll be their pitching. So if they can stay competitive, which I think they can, then they're probably going to look to add a starting rotation arm at the trade deadline. We kind of talked. Matthew mentioned the Mets last week as a team that's kind of playing kind of well. They started off hot and they're still above the Nationals, but Syndergaard just went on the DL, the 10-day DL. And like I said this at the beginning of the season, if they can't stay healthy over there, then they're not going to have a chance. So
that was a big thing for us, is their starting rotation, if they can stay healthy or not. Because it's definitely a great rotation, but every year it seems to be plagued by injuries.
Yep, and that starting rotation they're already going down the injury path, and we're not even out of May yet. So let's move on to our AL players of the month. Go ahead and give me your one, Emmons. Nominate somebody for me.
I gotta go with Mookie Betts.
Moo.
I really tried to not go with Mookie Betts because he's just tearing it up this year. So I just wanted to kind of throw a wild card out there. Mm-hmm. When I really looked at it, John Jay is 2nd in average right now, and for the last 30 days, but he's played 4 more games than Betts, and Betts still has 9 more home runs than Jay, and he's just tearing it up. Guy's got 9 home runs. I think this is sorted wrong, but he's definitely on the top. He's got 9 home runs in the last 30 days with 24 games played, 94 at bats. He's got a 372 average, 434 OBP. I mean, his numbers are sky high.
Yeah, so
not to mention 10 stolen bases.
Yeah, if you look a little further down that list, you'll see my 2 players. You got Francisco Lindor. He's batting 353 with a 415 on base percentage. He's hit 8 home runs. He's got 20 RBIs. He scored more runs than Mookie Betts. He's got more hits. He's got six more hits. So he had a good month. And then if you look down just a little bit further, you'll see J.D. Martinez sitting down there, 304, 377, 12 homers in the last 30 days, 19 runs scored. He's added exactly what that Red Sox lineup missed last year, and that's somebody to consistently hit home runs. But for the Red Sox, I guess what's fortunate for them is Mookie wasn't that last year, but he's being that this year. So they added Martinez, and then Mookie has taken off, so that's been good for them. So between the 3 of them, I'm okay with giving it to Mookie, but JD's just driven in a lot of runs. Yeah,
no, for sure. I think the NL was more obvious, I guess, per se.
Right.
Mookie's numbers are just jumping out at me. Is why I picked him.
I think the thing that would push Mookie over JD for me would be the stolen bases.
Yeah.
If I was gonna pick something, would be the stolen bases. But JD's driven in a few more runs. Yeah, I mean, looking at the numbers, I got it. I mean, I have to give it to Mookie. stealing more bases. He's got more extra base hits. He's got more total hits. He has less at bats, and he's still got more hits. Yeah, I gotta give it to Mookie. So is that 2 in a row for Mookie now? We're giving Mookie 2 in a row, one for April and then one for May. Your mic is muted. It's quiet. Not working. Nope. So I think that is. I think that's one for Mookie in April and then one for Mookie now in May. Cueto got it in the NL that first month, and then and now we're gonna give it to Scooter Gennett because his numbers just popped off way too much. Bear with us 1 second. We're gonna see if we can get Emmons back up and running, and then we'll resume the show after that, and we're gonna move on to some NHL talk, and Austin Stoll will be joining us shortly. So we'll be right back with that. Okay, we're good to go. All right, that was just a quick little break. That
was our first commercial break. Look at us.
Woo. If anybody, any sponsors want to send us anything, you can email us at tossportspodcast@gmail.com. I think that's right, Emmons?
That's not our email, so please send it to the other side sportspodcast@gmail.com.
Okay, there you go. Send it there. Don't send it to where I said. Send it there. Mookie also leads off, so harder to get RBIs. Yeah, you're right, Isaiah. But that Red Sox lineup is also loaded. So
do we have a Red Sox homer in the chat right now?
It's not impossible.
Is that what I'm hearing?
So
there was a couple other. I mean, my boy Nick Castellanos is having a great month. Not player of the month worthy, but
damn, we talking homers out here. Emmons going.
Oh, I know.
Emmons going. I
had to bring my
going and digging the Tigers out. Ugh.
Yeah. Hey, we're only what, a game and a half out of first place in the best division in baseball. A little sarcasm there if you can't set.
Okay, I was about to say what. Yeah. So we got a little bit of time. You said Austin would join us around 8:55.
Around 8:55. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got a little bit of time. We got about what do we got? About 8 minutes. 8 minutes. So let's talk about your Tigers.
Oh God.
Let's talk about them. So have you only been to the opening day game this year? Is that the only game
I've been to 3 games.
3 of
them. I'm going to see. Unfortunately, Fulmer is pitching tonight, but I'm 90% sure Ohtani is going tomorrow.
Is Ohtani batting tonight?
I don't think so. He didn't bat yesterday either.
If he didn't,
does he normally bat the night before he pitches?
He only doesn't bat the night after and the night before he pitches.
Oh, okay, all right.
So, hopefully you're right.
I would guess I'd be seeing Matt Boyd tomorrow then.
Matt Boyd,
which I'd be thrilled to see a Matt Boyd Ohtani matchup.
Yeah, I'm checking their. So Tropiano is pitching tonight for the Angels. No Ohtani in the lineup, so that actually does bode well for you for tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm pretty sure Ohtani's pitching. I don't know why I thought Fulmer was going to be going, but
I'm trying to check for you. Tomorrow's Wednesday, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's see.
The 30th.
Angels, Tigers. Where are they at? Angels. Yeah, you got Ohtani versus Mike Fiers.
Oh God, Mike Fiers.
Hey, he's 4-3 this year.
I know he's not having a bad year, but I mean, I'd rather see a Matt Boyd versus Ohtani or Michael Fulmer versus Ohtani.
Well,
I don't even go with Jordan Zimmerman still alive, to be honest with you.
Your Tigers are down 5-1 right now. I really had to.
Doesn't surprise me. We won 9-3 yesterday, so that's good enough for me.
So, so what are you most excited about with this Tigers team?
It's tough to say because, really, if you look at the outlook of things, this team has no chance of winning anything, right? So, I'm always been the philosophy of, like, you don't really want to win pointless games if you're not going to win anything because you want to build through your farm system, which means generally having high draft picks, correct? So, yes, we have the number 1 pick this year, but I hate saying this because I love the Tigers in baseball. I just feel like we're winning these games and they don't mean anything. It's early in the year. I think this team definitely shows the Ron Gardenhire grit. This team does not quit ever. And they've come back from so many games this year, and it's exciting to see. But we just don't have the firepower. We've talked about it before. They don't have a power bat. Like, even when Miggy's healthy, his power numbers are down. Like, they've plummeted. And you don't have a power guy to go to. Victor Martinez might as well be running with the bases with the Walker.
So let me ask you. It's July 31st. That's the trade deadline. The Tigers are... they played about 90 games at that point. Let's say they're 2 games under 500, and they're only 4 back in the division. And they're in second place in the division, and they're 4 back of the lead. Would you, as a fan, be okay with them trading some pieces and trying to go get a bat to help them?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with a couple things with the deadline. I mean, I guess they really want to buy and you get a nice bat to come in and, help the team out, sure. I'd be more on board of selling, which is not going to be a popular topic among the Detroit fans that are listening right now. But if you can trade, we should have traded Fulmer last year, in my opinion. His value was peaked then.
We agree on that.
Yeah, I think Castellanos this year would be a good piece to trade, although he's probably my favorite Tiger right now. I'm more on board of selling and because they said it. I mean, the GM has said it. We're rebuilding. We're in a rebuild. So if we're in a rebuild, let's do this thing right. Let's go on 100% rebuild. And anytime you have a guy with value that you don't see in the future, because what rebuilds generally take 3 to 5 years. So, I mean, Michael Fulmer in 3 to 5 years is not going to be Michael Fulmer that he is now.
Right.
So.
Right. And my only thing about going full on tank mode, like you're suggesting, and as soon as Austin gets his situation figured out, then we'll move on to the hockey. And here he comes. What's up, Austin? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good, man.
So the only thing with going full on tank mode that I don't like is you have Dixon Machado, Jeimer Candelario, Jacoby Jones, all these young guys. You don't want them to You don't want them to get used to losing.
I agree with that.
So you should try to at least, like, if you're trying to win and you lose games, that's one thing. But if you're losing games because you're trying to lose games, that's not good. That is the one.
Before we move on here, that is the one thing I do like about Gardenhire is these guys believe in him. They play for him, which they didn't for Brad Ausmus, and they never stop trying in the games. They're always out there grinding, so it's good to see. But this team does not have enough talent to win right now.
Right. So I think if they're competitive at the trade deadline and they want to push for a playoff spot and they want to get eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. Go get a bat to help you out. If not, sell off Fulmer. You could sell Castellanos. How old is he? He's like 27, 28?
He's 24, 25.
Oh, no, I'd hold on to him. I'd rather trade a guy like Leonis Martin or James McCann or something like that.
Because I think he's 26 would be his age right now.
I would still hold on to him if I were them because he's a good player and that young. So we have Austin back again. So let's move on to talk about these NHL finals. The Golden Knights took Game 1. That's who I'm going for. I'm going for the Golden Knights. Gotta go for the Cinderella story.
It's looking like Cinderella's gonna get that glass slipper placed and win it all. Yeah. I was thoroughly impressed, not only
they played great
in their Winnipeg series when they took the Jets down, but last night battling against the Caps the way they did. Man, it's really hard to root against them, and it's really hard to slow them down too. I don't know. I mean, I think Washington showed that they could compete, but
that's my thing. I mean, they gave up besides the empty netter because Holtby wasn't in net for that. I feel like Holtby didn't play bad at all. Like most of the goals they gave up were just Vegas playing great hockey. It's not like Washington came out flat or anything. Vegas is just on a tear right now.
Yeah. And Washington missed out. There was a open net chance for Washington when they had Holtby pulled.
Yeah, with 35 seconds left.
Lars Eller
whiffed. Okay.
Lars Eller, it was Tom Wilson had a nice slick between the legs, behind the back pass, right to the tape of Lars Eller, and he just whiffed, fanned on it big time.
It was bad.
Vegas cleared it, and obviously they scored that empty netter. But it's tough. I think Vegas continues rolling 4 lines. I mean, their third line had 4 goals last night.
Yep.
One from Ryan Reeves, a huge one to tie the game up in the third, and then I think his name's Nosjek.
Yeah,
two.
Nozick, who was the Wings
Nozick,
#1 prospect, and we decided not to protect him. Great job, Ken Holland.
So he scored 2 big goals last night as well. One, a slick one-timer from Shea Theodore.
Such a great pass.
Through a couple legs. But, yeah, so I'm going – I mean, it's really tough. Obviously, the Capitals showed a lot. It's a different team, taking down the Lightning. I was a little shocked that happened. I thought once Tampa won 3 straight,
Right.
I was going to get a prediction right for once, and Tampa in 6, but not to be. And Washington shut them out 2 times in a row, and that's immensely impressive. I thought Tampa looked out of their game. They didn't have their legs. Washington did everything correctly to slow them down. Didn't hear a lot from Kucherov, Stamkos, any of the big guys from Tampa. And the big names, like Kuznetsov, Ovechkin, Backstrom, they all showed up for Washington, which – they're going to need to, I believe it's tomorrow night. I don't think Ovechkin was on the score sheet. I didn't hear his name called a lot. I didn't really see a lot of good plays from him. Backstrom always had that goal. Kuznetsov's always in there. But if Washington wants to win, they need to get Ovechkin going. They need to see the Tampa Bay series Ovechkin. He was all over the place. He was hitting people. He was shooting every chance he got. Good shots, being fluid with his passes. So Washington really needs that from him now than ever. And I know, Emmons, we already discussed this, but I think Washington's Achilles heel, so to speak, is this is the first time Ovechkin has ever made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. A lot of these guys on that team, it's their first time, I think.
Right.
I think, and I can't really think off the top of my
head. I
head.
can't think of a guy who's been in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Brooks
a lot of those
Orpik,
guys are, a lot of those guys, because I know Backstrom and Ovechkin are both homegrown in Washington. I'm pretty sure Kuznetsov is too.
Yep.
They picked up Oshie, but he was never in a Stanley Cup final.
He never made it.
And I think the difference between Vegas and Washington right now is Washington has had this pressure on them for years, right?
Yes.
They've always had this great team that just doesn't perform in the playoffs. Vegas, I mean, no pun intended, being in Vegas, is playing on house money right now. They have nothing to lose. This is a team that got thrown together literally one year, and they're in the Stanley Cup finals, and they've dominated their way through the playoffs so far. So the pressure's on Washington here, and it's going to be interesting to see how they respond in Game 2, because I saw a stat today. The last 6 Stanley Cups, the winner of Game 1 won the Cup. So Washington's got to respond big time in Game 2. They need to grab Game 2. And like you said, Ovi was kind of like a ghost in Game 1. He was in Game 6, Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals last night.
It was very, very quiet for the kind of loud noise he's made in this entire playoffs.
Right.
So before we move on to talk about Game 2, I saw a highlight from this game. I believe, Austin, you mentioned the guy's name earlier, but I can't remember it.
Tom Wilson.
Tom Wilson. He blindsided a guy basically at one point. Knocked him down. He put the guy in the concussion protocol. I think they said he was okay and he'll be back for Game 2. I don't know the hockey rules. Is that something that should have got him ejected from the game and possibly suspended for the series, or what are you guys' opinions on that?
So I think that hit. I mean, and Tom Wilson, it's tough. He's a young guy. He's got a lot of skill. Obviously, that feed he had last night that Eller didn't put in the back of the net. He's got some skill. He's 20, 23 maybe. He's a young guy, big guy.
They also mentioned that he has a past of doing things like that.
He's already been suspended in the playoffs this year. Yep, he was suspended 2 games. And honestly, I think with that kind of hit, he should have been suspended at least another game. Jonathan Marchessault for Vegas, I think he plays on that first line with Carlson and Riley Smith. He's a big piece on that line, and I don't like that kind of stuff in the game. It's a hard game. Obviously the hard hits happen. When you blindside somebody late in the game because you're down, you're trying to, there's better ways to make statements that way. Tom Wilson can certainly, make a statement, and I have nothing wrong with him hitting people hard and, like I said, making some noise to get the team fired up, but I think he should have been suspended. I think the NHL just, I don't know what they're doing. They suspend people for little stuff and they miss big stuff. So it's tough, but I think he should have got at least a game for that one.
Yeah, I haven't seen the hit, but the things I've heard about it's a blindside hit. I was pretty sure it was open ice, center ice pretty much. It's kind of like a blindside he's got to get suspended. I mean, he's got a track record. I mean, he was just suspended 2 series ago versus the Penguins for it, so at least a game. But like Austin said, the NHL is really inconsistent with these things in the playoffs. I mean, I know the Wings have fallen victim to kind of like an iffy suspension with Cronwall a couple times in the past, and they're iffy with it a lot. They miss on these suspensions a lot. So we'll see what they decide to do. I haven't heard anything yet today, so I'm going to assume he's going to be playing tomorrow, but I definitely think he should be suspended.
So going into Game 2 and into the rest of the series, let's start with the feel-good story. How did the Knights repeat what they did and win this series overall?
I really think they just keep playing the way they're playing. Emmons hit on it earlier. They're having fun out there. There's not pressure on them. They were expected to probably have a top 10 pick this year in the draft, and they're competing for either the last one or the second to last one. They're just enjoying themselves, and I think you really see that through all 4 lines, with the 4th line answering big time for them. So if you're Vegas, just continue to roll your 4 lines. Play hard, skate, have fun. I think for me, Fleury's got to be a little stronger. Yeah. He let in a couple of soft goals last night. He's a different guy. I saw a lot of that in Pittsburgh that got him benched, in the playoffs a couple times. But, he needs to be the guy that stole games from Winnipeg. Yeah. He can't be letting, soft 5-hole goals go in, be a little better with his rebound control. So bring back the Fleury that you had against Winnipeg. Continue to play the way you have been, and you guys will be hoisting the cup. I'm going to call it 6 games if they continue to play the way they do.
Yeah, I think Fleury's huge in this because I don't think, even though all 5 of their goals were amazing, I just don't see Holtby letting in that many goals again. I guess I'm a big Holtby guy, and the way he played against Tampa in Game 6 and 7, I think that's who we're going to see mostly in the rest of the series. Vegas has to do what they did last night and come out and punch the Capitals first. I mean, get the first goal. I mean, just control the tempo, because we all know that the Capitals kind of struggle against speed teams, and the reason they beat Tampa and Pittsburgh is because they were able to control the games at their tempo and the games they won. So if Vegas can continue to play fast, continue having fun, I mean, if they play like they did Game 1 the rest of the series, I mean, Capitals don't stand a chance. That was probably the best game I've seen them play. Fleury's got to be better, but just keep doing what they've been doing all playoffs. There's nothing different for me for the Vegas game plan going forward.
Okay, so besides Alex Ovechkin flipping his LeBron James switch, what do the Caps need to do to move on and hoist the Stanley Cup?
So I think the biggest thing that they need to work on going into Game 2 is clearing the blue paint, clearing the front of the net in front of Holtby. I think, just watching as a Pittsburgh fan, going against the Capitals, I think it was 3 years straight. The way that the Pittsburgh Penguins were able to beat him was getting traffic in front of Holtby. Don't let him track the pucks.
Yep.
Give him, make him give out juicy rebounds. I think almost not all of Vegas's goals, but I think 2 or 3 of them came from just a scramble at the front of the net and just putting in a loose puck. I think it's not that Holtby struggles with that. I think, all goalies struggle with traffic in front of them. I think that's the really big thing. He's obviously locked in from Tampa. He shut him out twice. I agree with Emmons. Last night was a little much. And he couldn't really do a whole lot, but the Capitals defense has to do a better job of clearing, the front.
I think it was Smith Pelly who gave up that horrible turnover for the 5th goal.
Yeah, you got to get the puck out of your zone, especially when you're scrambling. And then, obviously Ovechkin's got to show up and just, be smart. Vegas, I think, was they only had 1 power play, but they scored on it. So you can't let Vegas get in a groove and get on the power play. And, on the flip side, Washington was, I think, 0 for 1 or 0 for 2. Get it going. Don't get fancy. You got Backstrom on the wall. You've got 2 one-time spots, and Carlson is 3, actually. Oshie's got a sweet spot in the slot. If you guys have seen some of his goals on the power play. And then obviously Ovechkin just kind of sneaking down the opposite side. So I think Washington's got a couple things they got to do. The biggest thing, though, is clearing the net in front of Holtby. They don't do that. Vegas lives in front of the net. They're going to use their speed. They're going to chase pucks, and then they're going to go to work and just try and get some some rebounds, some lucky bounces, and score some goals that way.
Yeah, Washington's just got. I mean, it's tough to say, because they scored 4 goals. Holtby didn't really play that bad. I mean, the only goal I would really knock him on is the one where he was kind of leaning to the right while being screened, which is a goal you never want to angle yourself like that, and you're just opening up the short side of the net. Other than that, he was playing fine. I think, like Austin hit on it, they got to get the puck out of their zone. You can't continue to let Vegas just crash the net, and turnovers in your zone will kill you in any sport. And Smith Pelly's whiff on the puck that late in the game 1 of the Stanley Cup with 8 minutes left or something like that, that can't happen. Ovechkin's got to show up. They need Ovechkin. He's their captain. He doesn't necessarily need to score a lot of goals. He just needs to be there. He wasn't there last night. It was just disappointing for me as an Ovechkin fan. But he's got to get it going. A couple other guys got to play better. I think Washington's still in a good spot. But if the Vegas continue the way they're playing, like they did against Winnipeg and last night, I think Washington's in trouble.
All right, so let me ask you guys one more question, and then we'll let Austin go. Appreciate you being on.
Yeah, of course.
Do you guys think that this deep playoff run for the Golden Knights being their first season, do you think that this is in any way bad for the future of their franchise? That they're not going to end up with a top pick in the draft this year and potentially get like a future franchise player?
They don't even have a first-round pick.
Oh, okay.
No. The general manager's name escapes me. I think it's McPhee.
Yeah, something like that.
Maybe, and I think Gallant's the coach or vice versa. But he did a great job.
Yeah.
This in the expansion draft, and he acquired a lot of picks for this upcoming draft. I think the expectation was Vegas was going to struggle, and a lot of teams were scrambling. For example, the Penguins, they gave up a second-round pick so Vegas would take Fleury, and they may have taken Fleury anyway. There weren't a lot of goaltenders. So I think the future is looking very bright for Vegas. They got a lot of young guys. I mean, their first line, I think their average age is probably 25, 26.
They're young.
They've got a bunch, young defensemen. I love Nate Schmidt. I love Shea Theodore. Alex Took is 22, I believe. And so, I mean, Vegas has got a lot going well for them. They've got a good mix of youth and veterans, but I think they've acquired a lot of picks, and I believe they've got a first-round pick this year as well. They might have a couple, actually.
I know they gave up their first-round pick.
So they gave up, though.
They gave up their first, second, and third-round pick for Tatar, who, ironically enough, was benched a little in the playoffs.
Yeah.
No, I don't. For them, no, I don't think this is bad for them. I mean, the fact that this team was built in an expansion draft and have gelled the way they have, it's almost not a miracle, but I mean, it's remarkable. You don't generally get a lot of guys and just throw them together and kind of say, hey, let's play together, and you succeed right away. I mean, they look like they've been playing together for years. So, no, I don't think it's bad going forward for them if they win the Cup at all. I think you might have a little bit of a hangover next year, but I don't think going forward in the next few years is going to be bad for them.
I was going to say, I think the only knock that I can think of is for the fan base, Vegas not having a professional hockey team before. It's a grueling challenge to get to the Stanley Cup final and then win it. If Vegas, the fans there, they might get a little ambitious if Vegas doesn't make the playoffs or they get knocked out in the first round next year if they're disappointed.
And that's my thing is the fans. First off, I'm shocked to see how much passion they have in Vegas over there. The pregame yesterday was insane to watch. The other side of the fan thing is I feel bad for teams like Winnipeg who literally lost their team, finally got them back, and you lose to a team whose fans have not gone through the struggle of being a professional sports team, the struggles of fandom, right? So it's great for hockey, bad for fans like who are in Buffalo and who struggle every year and support their team, but this is a great story for the sport.
I feel sorry for Seattle. I think there's an expansion team that's going to happen to them, and there's no way they're going to replicate anything Vegas does.
No.
So the poor fans in Seattle are probably going to experience a really bad hockey season. But
yeah.
Who knows? Maybe not, but I don't see it happening twice.
Yeah, I mean, this is so rare for an expansion team in any sport to do this, so I don't think there's really any blueprint. I think the GM did a great job. Definitely a little bit of luck that was drawn into this, though.
So Austin's taking the Knights in 6. Emmons, who you taking?
I struggled with this.
Don't forget we record these, so we can go back and watch these.
No, I'm pretty confident in my prediction. I almost changed my mind when I saw that stat about the game 1 winners. I still think the Caps take the series. And 7 games. Beginning of the series, I had the Caps in 5 after the way they played against Tampa, but Vegas last night was impressive. I just think Ovechkin's on a mission, and I think he's going to go back and watch the film from last night and see how invisible he was and just come out on a tear these next few games.
Okay, so we've got Austin's Knights in 6 versus
me and Austin disagreeing again
versus Emmons Caps in 7. Austin, thanks for being on and offering your hockey knowledge that both I feel like Matthew and I lack, so we appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Love doing it. Appreciate it. You guys taking the time to add me on here. So definitely looking forward to some being on here more with you guys. Hopefully on the NFL side or whatever.
We'll have you back for sure.
Way, so
thanks Austin.
Guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. By the way, Emmons, before we move on to hold up, Pook says he wants you to put FIFA on EA Access.
All right, thanks for tuning in, Pook. I'll do what I can for you, buddy.
All right, so let's move up. Let's move on to our hold up segment. Matthew, how you doing, buddy? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome to the show, Matthew. Good to see you.
Just so you know, your boy Mookie won our AL Player of the Month, second month in a row.
I was gonna say him.
We all three of us, me and Josh both agreed on our NL and AL, so it's kind of out of curiosity. Who's your NL guy?
That's
we're 3 for 3.
Yeah, we picked Scooter Gennett too. I was hands down Scooter Gennett. So, all right, so let's move on to hold up. If you haven't watched the show before, basically, I'm gonna give these guys a little background on some statements, and then I'm gonna give them 5 statements. They're going to listen to the statement, and then I'm going to give them a couple seconds. If they agree with the statement, they're not going to say anything. And if they disagree with the statement, then they will say, hold up, and then they'll defend their argument. So first, here we go. First statement. Rhys Hoskins, if you didn't see it, he took a 95-mile-per-hour fastball. He fouled it off, but it ended up bouncing up, hitting him right in the lip. He ended up with a cut on his lip, swollen bottom lip. He had to get taken out of the game in the 9th inning. He shouldn't miss any playing time, but I mean, it's still probably hurt. So
I think so.
So here's your statement. You would cry if you got hit in the face with a baseball. I think I would too. 95 miles an hour.
95 miles per hour.
I'd be
followed off.
done. I'd be done.
Not to mention the exit velocity off of that bat, just shooting right up in your face. It's gonna be pretty painful.
I'd be done.
I mean, I could barely take an IV. I mean,
I'd be done. I'd be out of there. I'm done.
Yeah, right. That's a fair statement.
So we'll move on to the second one. During Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals, Emmons, I don't know if you might have saw this. You might have flipped over to the basketball game by the time this happened. Ovechkin got hit in the face with a puck while he was on the bench.
A lot of face action tonight.
So Ovechkin didn't handle it like Hoskins. Ovechkin flinched a little bit, and then he checked his teeth to make sure they were all still there. None of them were loose. Then he sat back down on the bench waiting to go back in the game.
Yeah.
So here's your statement. You would rather be hit in the face by a puck than a baseball.
Hold up.
Yeah.
There's pucks, if I remember correctly, those pucks come with more velocity than baseball.
They
also,
do.
Just the way they're hit with their stick, I think I'd take the baseball.
Yeah, I'd take the baseball too. I think when you watch, as Josh saying, Ovechkin kind of just shrugged it off like it was nothing. He's got a couple missing teeth already. Hockey players are a weird breed. I'm not going to say rare. Well, they are rare, but they're weird guys. These guys take, I mean, I saw, forgot what his name was on the Capitals, take a puck to the back of the neck right on his spine, and he took a little bit, then he got right back on the ice. So those guys, they're weird, is what I'm going to say. Yeah, I'd rather take a baseball.
Okay. So going into statement number 3, we got the Jets, the Browns, the Texans, the Broncos, the Giants, the Bears, the Buccaneers, and the 49ers all finished last place in their divisions last year. Mm-hmm. The 49ers had the best record at 6-10, and the Browns were obviously the worst at 0-16. So here is your statement. At least 2 of those teams that finished in last place last season will find themselves winning their division this year.
At least two.
Can you
At
say the
least-
list?
at
Can
least
you give me
two.
the list again?
Sure.
Yeah, can
You
you-
got the Jets, the Browns, the Texans, the Broncos, the Giants, the Bears, the Buccaneers, and the 49ers. At least two teams will finish in first place.
Hold up.
Yeah,
I want to say, I really want to say the Broncos and the Niners.
that's
But then I
that's
think
exactly the two teams that were going through my
Yeah.
mind.
the Rams are out there. I don't think the
Right.
Niners are going to overcome that because the
Right.
Rams went all in. You know, the Niners are built for like next year. And I feel like the Rams are built for now. So
Yeah,
those are the only two I could see.
Okay, so you guys are disagreeing with this statement then, and you think
Yes.
only one team makes it. So do you both think that? So you say you think the Broncos will do it, Matthew. Do you think one or two, Emmons, or what are you thinking? One or none?
I don't think the Broncos will. I think the Broncos are the most likely out of the bunch to
Right.
win it. I think the 49ers are a good football team too. But like Matthew said, the Rams are all in right now, and if they click, that's going to be a dangerous football team. I just don't think the 49ers are ready to do that. The other teams, the Bears, the Jets, the Buccaneers, I mean, they're not going to be good football. The Browns, they're not going to win divisions this year. So there's really only two teams on my mind when you brought that up.
So this might actually surprise you guys, but
Oh God.
I think the Broncos are going to take that division. The only other competition I see for them is the Chargers.
Yeah.
So I feel like they could get back into first place, especially if Case Keenum plays as advertised. Houston Texans, dude. They actually
They're the Texans
they
kind
actually,
of, but
they actually
I
scare
have
me.
confidence in your Jaguars. I have confidence
They
in
actually
your Jaguars.
scare
though.
me. They actually scare me. Because we dominated them week 1 last year. But having Andrew Luck back, that's a split game. Like the Jags could lose one in Indy.
Andrew Luck. Wait,
yeah,
we're talking about
I meant
Texans.
yeah, but we're talking about whole season,
Okay.
right? So
All right.
so like Andrew Luck's coming back, so the Jags could lose one game in Indy. Then like the Jags have to play the Eagles, they have to play the Chiefs. Like they have to play these upper teams now because they finished first place in the division, whereas the Texans are going to play the lower teams in those divisions, those fourth place teams. So that worries me that Houston, if we split games with Houston and we split games with Indy and we get swept by the Titans again, there's a very good chance that the Texans do end up on top of that division.
I mean, it
If
all comes down to
Deshaun,
Watson.
if Deshaun
Yeah.
Watson comes back as advertised,
If he
right?
comes back healthy and Watt's healthy. See, I think it's both. I think both of those guys have to be
Yeah,
healthy to
that's
win
a
the division.
huge-
They can win the wild card with just Watson, but for them to win that division,
And I-
Watt's
JJ.
gotta-
I think the Tyrann Matthew signing really is going to help them too.
Yeah,
Oh,
for sure.
And we'll see how Colvin does moving to the outside from playing the slot as well.
It's kind of funny though. But it's just a little. I mean, Colvin. Even though Colvin's not Boye, but those corners like staying in that division apparently.
Yeah, they like to show off. Emmons asked for this specifically, so I went ahead and gave it to him.
He added something.
The Detroit Pistons
Oh, he really added a Pistons topic.
traded for Blake Griffin in
God.
January of this year and hoped to make the playoffs. They did not make the playoffs. They fired their head coach. They don't have a first-round pick. And they have potentially the worst cap situation in the entire league. So here's your statement. The Detroit Pistons head coaching position is the worst job opening in the NBA.
Well, can you? What are the other
I have
positions?
no idea.
The Magic,
The Raptors.
Raptors, the Bucks. I think hired their coach. The Knicks, or they hired Fizdale. I don't know the exact list. It's hard to say no. If you think of the Pistons like name, they're a basketball name, but you got a guy like Blake Griffin who's on the wrong side of the 20s. He's been injured his whole career. He has arguably the worst contract in basketball. No one wanted him, but the Detroit Pistons decided to say, hey, let's trade a bunch of guys who are playing well here and our first-round pick and a future second-round pick, and let's just get rid of everything for Blake Griffin to be mediocre in the Eastern Conference playoffs. Why not, right? And we didn't even make it.
Wait, you saying hold up?
No,
No,
this is
he's
the
not
worst.
saying
It's-
hold
it's-
up.
it's
He's
not
just
a great
he's just going on a tangent.
I want to say hold up.
You go ahead, Matthew. I'll continue to go on my tangent.
I'm gonna say the
when-
Magic
you're done.
because the Magic, like,
Magic's bad.
what are they? What are they? They have so many just random pieces. Like, and they draft somebody. Like they drafted Oladipo. Oladipo played well, and then they trade him. They got rid of Tobias Harris a couple years ago that then went to you guys.
That's such a
It's
great
like,
trade for the
what are
Pistons.
they doing? Like their management just is never.
I guess I will say hold up in this aspect. I don't think it's not the worst job for a head coach because the roster itself.
Right.
If you don't look at the salary cap, if you just look at it on paper, if Reggie Jackson can stay healthy, which isn't going to happen, if Blake Griffin can play 80 or 70 games, which won't happen, and you got Andre Drummond, it's not a horrible roster. I think it's the worst job for a general manager wise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you're coming into it, you have no draft pick.
Let's
Uh,
But they're also very patient with their coaches too.
Right.
Orlando,
Before we move on, from what I read, Dwayne Casey does sound interested for whatever reason, so that'd be a great hire for us.
I called that.
Although we don't have a general manager right now, so that's fun.
So let's blow through this last statement and then move on to our NBA talk before we run out of time. Last statement: LeBron James carried the Cavs to the finals, and now they're playing the Warriors for the 4th straight year. Cavs are heavy underdogs in the series, and I don't think that they've announced that Kevin Love will be ready for Game 1 yet. If he's out of concussion protocol, I don't think they've announced that. So here's your statement: win or lose, LeBron James stays in Cleveland.
I've been on the he's staying in Cleveland boat for a while now, so
Okay. All right, so let's go to we'll move on to talk about these NBA playoffs, and then we'll let Matthew close it out with what's on his mind. So, Matthew, without going too crazy,
I won't go too crazy.
Let's talk about Cavs Celtics really quickly.
Well, listen, I listened to some Boston sports radio, well, Cleveland sports radio, and some Boston sports radio a couple hours before the game, and they made a great point because my mindset had been like, hey, nobody expected this,
Right.
Hey, it's great just being here, I mean, win or lose, kind of thing with what happened. But he had a great point. You're in this position, you don't know how many years you're going to get at this, and like when you start looking at like Marcus Smart's a restricted free agent, and he came out after the game and said,
what's the situation with Rozier?
I think he has another year or two, but
Because he's an interesting piece. Because is he really going to go back to the role that's kind of playing off? I mean, because even though he disappeared in Game 7, he was a stud.
Yeah, like that's the thing is okay. Marcus Smart wants more than $14 million a year. Okay, so let's say some GM is dumb enough to give him that, and we're not going to sign that. If he signs an offer somewhere for less than 14, I think Ainge matches that. But let's say you lose Marcus Smart. Terry Rozier really want to come off the bench for Kyrie. Okay, what happens when Terry Rozier is moved, and then Kyrie gets hurt again? I mean, it's very scary because everybody wants to say, oh well, okay, well next year once you get everybody back, but I don't think so. But there was this moment of fear because did you see the look on Jaylen Brown's face? It was almost like, wait, we actually lost.
Right.
Like it was that moment where he kind of grew. It was a moment of growing and growth, but they just couldn't hit shots. They weren't ready for that next step. Like they were getting shots that they hit, they just missed. So I mean, it's depressing, but at the same time, it's promising. I have this Oklahoma City Thunder feel when they lost to the Heat and they got swept that first time.
So take us, Emmons. Take us through Warriors Rockets that final Game 7.
Interesting series. I do think the CP3 injury is huge. I don't think it'd be fair to say Houston still wins the series because the Warriors were down 3-1 to OKC with a Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook team, which in my opinion is still better than that Rockets roster. And they came back from 3-1. CP3 definitely killed them. Warriors kind of played sloppy in the series after they won by 40. I think they cleaned it up big time coming into this series, but there was never a doubt in my mind that the Warriors were going to lose this series. I thought it was interesting. The Rockets were up 3-2, but there was never a doubt in my mind. Rockets played great. They don't have enough.
The thing that killed
Durant
the Rockets,
garbage.
Durant. There's a lot of guys that played weird.
Whoa. Durant closed that game out last night.
Yeah, but he's also a big reason why they lost games 5 and 6.
He was hitting contested shots like
late.
Late, and that's all they needed. That's all they needed.
That.
But
here's the free throws he missed.
I didn't. But here's the big thing with the Rockets.
He also disappeared in the big moments in Game 5 and 6.
They went 1 for 30 from 3 in the second half, and they missed 27 straight threes in a row. And that
Ariza went 0-12.
Ariza played 42 minutes and scored 0 points. He did not score a single point in 42 minutes. So what do you guys think is next for the Rockets? Chris Paul is a free agent this upcoming year.
He's back.
So you think Emmons? You guys both think he's coming back?
He's back.
I won't say who because that's not this type of show. But somebody actually brought up today that what if Chris Paul doesn't sign with the Rockets? Okay, and you guys remember Chris Paul was supposed to be traded to the Lakers at one point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What if LeBron and Chris Paul team up in LA and move to the Lakers together?
Yeah.
You guys like that possibility?
It'd be nice, but it's not happening.
So let's talk about. You guys both think CP3 will be back. So let's talk about. Is it necessary for them to bring Clint Capella back as well?
I think Clint Capella is a huge part of that team. I don't think they utilize Clint Capella enough because of D'Antonio's garbage system, in my opinion. D'Antonio, sorry, shout out to Michigan State. D'Antoni has said that Capella can go out there and dominate. That's just not in his system. You have a post player who can dominate. You're just not going to utilize him. And they didn't go to him enough in the second half. He dominated in the first half. They need to bring Capella back. Yeah, unless they can get a big fish in free agency, Clint Capella better be wearing a Houston Rockets jersey next year.
Okay, so let's talk about the only series remaining. The Golden State Warriors versus LeBron James and
Part 4.
The Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah, take it away with this, Emmons. Let's hear you first, buddy.
This is interesting because, I mean, you look at the recent Warriors games, they struggled a little bit. They came out in the second half, but last Game 6 and Game 7, and were on fire in the second half. I don't think there's any way they come out flat in this series. I think LeBron himself can somehow, some way, steal 2 games. I think the Warriors will win 6. LeBron is playing the best playoff basketball I've ever seen him play. That man has been. There's no answer for him right now.
But see, here's my problem with
and my thing was, before you go, my thing was going into that Celtics series, I thought LeBron would be tired. Shout
out Boston Celtics right there. Shout out.
He showed his tiredness on the bench, and we've seen it. It didn't matter. That man was not being denied. He's not going to be enough to win the series. But I think they can steal 2, especially if the Warriors have a couple woes like they did against the Rockets.
Like, okay, if you look at like the 2 Game 7s that the Cavs won, what was the reason for them winning it?
LeBron, obviously, and then Jeff Green came up, showed up in Game 7.
What did the 2 losing teams not do?
Well, they couldn't
the
hit
last
shots,
6 minutes, right?
But if you can't just take Cleveland's defense away from them. What they play defense.
See, what I'm saying is, here's the difference of what I'm saying. The Pacers and the Celtics were getting looks, good looks, and they just weren't hitting them. When have you ever seen Curry, Clay, and KD late get open looks and just miss them?
I agree, but
I think that they haven't. Yes, they faced adversity, and LeBron is LeBron, but they haven't faced a team that's going to make you pay when you don't play good defense. Whereas the teams they faced in the East, especially when they went on the road, they struggled even when the defense wasn't great. So I just don't see 2. I see 1 max.
So here's what I think happened with the Cavs during the regular season. LeBron was kind of, just chilling, waiting to get to the playoffs to really turn it on. He got him there as the 4 seed, and, they are where they are now. But I think we've seen in these last 2 series, when they needed to step up and play defense, LeBron has set the tone, and they've played defense to that tone. Except J.R. Smith. I think J.R. Smith should be cut, to be honest with you. Just cut him right now. But I think the most important person in this entire series, if the Cavs are going to have any chance of winning, is not LeBron James. It is Tyronn Lue. He has to figure out how to stop Steph Curry and Klay Thompson from scoring 33 points in the third quarter. That is what did the Rockets. That's what did the Rockets in. The Rockets.
You pray.
The Rockets
it's
lost
the same
games.
thing with LeBron. Pray.
The Rockets lost Game 6 and Game 7 because they were fine. Going into halftime, they had a lead. I think they had double-digit leads both times. And
they had an 11-point lead at half.
And then the third quarter came, and there it goes. 33 points. The Warriors score 33. The Rockets score 14, and now you're down.
You can't figure out how to stop Steph and Klay. It's not like
40 feet away from the basket. He's like, oh hey.
And Klay Thompson is arguably, I mean, besides Steph, the best shooter in the NBA.
So that's on Ty to either figure out how to capitalize on the fact that the Warriors start slow.
Yeah.
They either have to figure out how to start faster and get a bigger lead going into halftime, or he needs to figure out how to limit 33 points in the quarter to 25.
Listen, here's how you beat the Warriors, and this is why I don't have a problem with the Celtics losing at the end of the day. Because with it being the Warriors, it didn't matter. Like with the Warriors, the two things can beat the Warriors. Number one, the refs allowing you to play themselves is the biggest one. But number two is if the refs allow you to actually like be physical on their shots,
right.
And they're not going to let that happen unless they actually let you like foul them basically when they're shooting. You're not going to beat them unless they beat themselves. That's how they're built.
The way they move the ball, and Matthew did bring this point up, Boston just weren't hitting their shots. When teams start rotating the ball really well against that Cavs team, there's always a guy in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And who do you not want wide open in the corner? Anybody named Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, or Kevin Durant.
They're on the same team.
That's not just one guy that you have to worry about. That's three guys. And I think that might give the Cavaliers, everybody on the Cavaliers roster besides LeBron James, a headache there on where to switch and how to switch and what's going on. Because in my lifetime, I've never seen a team move the ball like the Warriors do. It's fluid.
Mm-hmm.
So Emmons is taking the Warriors in 6.
Matthews in 5.
Matthew, who you taking?
4. Okay.
Max 1. I say 4. I say it's a sweep.
4. Wow. I'm actually going to take the Warriors to lose this series in 7 games.
Okay. I knew it. Sorry. I love it.
Last year, like I watched a little bit of the playoffs last year, and the Warriors looked so good. They gelled so well, and it was really hard to find a weakness. They have not looked like that this year. They've still looked. They've still looked good. They've still don't get me wrong. They've still looked good, but James Harden is not the closer that LeBron James is. Let's be real. He's not the player that LeBron James is. Like
you do realize that Kyrie literally lifted that team.
Kyrie was the closer in that when they won the championship. He had that huge shot.
Kyrie, he got to the point where
not that LeBron's not a closer, but
LeBron's hit more clutch shots in the playoffs and games tied or he's behind.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about
more than Kobe and Jordan combined.
The Warriors, when they were at full strength and they beat the Warriors, Kyrie had that look in his eye like, I don't care. And he was hitting shots that we looked at it like, what the heck is it? Like he couldn't miss. He just couldn't miss.
I think like Matthew hit it. I mean, he nailed it. The Warriors have looked bad when they've needed to win. When they've realized, hey guys, we're down 11 points at halftime in Game 7. We might not make the finals without playing a team without Chris Paul. They put on a clinic in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
They are so good. They can pretty much just say, hey, let's play some basketball, guys.
Okay,
right?
But I can't. It doesn't take away. It doesn't remove from my mind the fact that the Rockets went 1 for 30 from 3 in the second half. If they knock down 3 of those shots, that's a tie game. If they hit 4 of those shots, they win.
The Cavs almost lost to 2 teams that aren't even close to being ready for primetime basketball.
But they didn't. They won.
There's no.
LeBron said, "All right." He said, "All right, boys, here we go. We're going."
Who did the Warriors almost lose to? The number 1 team in the NBA record-wise.
Great. And I would have picked the Cavs. I would have picked the Cavs to beat the Rockets, just so we're clear.
I mean, you are literally looking at a roster that doesn't play deep. I mean, who's guarding Steph Curry?
I mean, I guess you're having George Hill on him.
Who's guarding Klay Thompson? Kyle Korver, J.R. Smith, good luck.
Yeah, one of
Who's
two.
guarding Kevin Durant? LeBron's never been able to guard Kevin Durant.
No.
Kevin Durant walked him up and down the court last year like it was nothing. Who's stopping Draymond Green's ability to grind it out and pass the ball? Tristan Thompson keeping up with him? Tristan Thompson's a great on-ball defender, but I'm sorry, he's struggling against the Warriors every single time he's played them. You know what happened to Tristan Thompson last year in the finals? He got out-rebounded by Steph Curry.
Yeah. That Boston Cavs game was pretty much close till the end of the game, and Boston shot like.
And you want to talk about Houston struggling? Boston missed so many open shots.
It was close. It was close.
Okay, but that's kind of my point. Is like you guys are like, well, the Cavs barely beat Boston, and they missed all these late shots. But then you're like, well, the Rockets, yeah, they missed late shots, but they're the Warriors.
The Rockets are not the Celtics.
1 for 30. 1 for 30.
Are you? It's one game.
And they blew them out. They blew them out in the fourth quarter. They took the Rockets and said,
I mean, why are we
We're
just
done with
throwing away the game? They beat the Rockets by 42.
Because that game, in the scheme of things, that game didn't matter.
I
They
don't
went down
care
3-2.
what- How do you lose by 42 points in the playoffs?
How do you lose by 20-something twice in a row and then bounce back and win the series in 7 games?
because they're the Warriors. Because
LeBron,
they're the Warriors,
LeBron
that's the
James,
point.
LeBron James did it. All
And
right.
how good has LeBron James been against the Warriors besides that 1 year when Draymond
And it
Green
was
got suspended
Kyrie
for the biggest game of the
Kyrie.
series?
Kyrie.
All right, LeBron James, like you said, playing the best playoff basketball of his career, maybe ever. I'll ride with the king. I'll ride with him. I'll ride with him till he fails.
He almost lost to the Pacers.
Great, fantastic. I'll ride with
This
him
is
till
the
he fails.
Warriors.
I don't care. I'm riding with him till he fails.
And real quick before we move on, they just talked about this on the jump. If we should be worried about the Warriors struggling a couple games versus the Rockets, this happens in basketball. The Warriors have struggled in other series before in the playoffs. They did last year. They didn't look great. And then what happened when they went to the finals? 5 games to King James with Kyrie.
I will ride with King James until the wheels fall off, my friend.
As much as I love LeBron James, if he can somehow pull this off, great. I'm voting for him. I will hope he wins. I felt bad giving him 2 games.
Matthew, take us out. What's on your mind, buddy?
All right, so here's the deal. We, as a society, get so caught up with like what's happening around us, like right now, and we want to like compare it to history. Okay, and we tend to. There's 2 sides of this. Number one, the people like us in the present, we want to say that we have things great now, you know, compared to ever. And then those who love history, they romanticize history. You know, like if you talk to an old personality, the 60s were just great. They were a great time. Well, they weren't great for anybody, but, you know, yeah. And it's the same thing with sports. And I think we keep getting into these discussions in sports about, you know, the greatest of all time. Well, there are so many variables. You know, like, you know, people say, well, if LeBron went to the 90s, he couldn't deal with the physicality of the Pacers and all that. You don't know that. You don't know that Jordan could come now and shoot threes because shooting threes was not a thing in the 90s. Like you have so many different variables. So I want us to start looking more at this Mount Rushmore idea for sports. So if you're talking about the greatest quarterback of all time, you can't. You talk about the Mount Rushmore sports. Who was the greatest of their generation, right? And you just keep putting the generational greats. You can't necessarily say that one quarterback is greater than the other. I mean, when like Naismith and all them were playing quarterback, you weren't passing, you were running the ball. So how are you going to compare the 2 quarterbacks? You know what I mean? So
right.
I think that we're going to go to this Rushmore idea more than the greatest of all time. You're not going to get a greatest of all time.
I agree.
You can't compare those because the way the game is played today is way different than how it was played in the 90s. So how are you going to compare something to the 70s or the 60s? You can't. You can't, people. Stop with the GOAT thing. Greatest of current time. Okay? That's what you got to go toward.
Because you look at it and you hit it. I mean, personally, I do think LeBron might be slightly better than Jordan, but at the same time, I hate comparing the 2. 1, they played in 2 completely different eras. 2, they're 2 completely different players. I think the Mount Rushmore thing would be the best idea. I think people just are so obsessed with the GOAT debate. I mean, we see it all the time in group chats that we're in. and there's no concrete evidence on who's the GOAT. I mean, we can't go back and say, all right, let's put Michael and LeBron in the same league because it's not happening.
You can't compare stats. You can compare stats like, all the players in this decade because it's similar. You can look at it like that. But
Jordan would come out and score more than he did back in the 90s.
Well, when you got to look at the science behind it too. I mean, the science of athletics has allowed, could you imagine if some of these guys who got hurt when they were on all-time grades, the longevity of their career? These guys who only played 7 years in their prime, whereas now today you can play 20 years in your prime in any sport because of science. How would the numbers look different? I'm more fascinated by that than I am,
for sure,
comparing them.
So how many heads are we putting on this Mount Rushmore of sports?
I say you got to generationally break it up. And you just keep adding one every generational one. So once LeBron's done,
that's a giant ass mountain.
And I had an argument last night before we sign out of this. Someone said that part of the reason Michael Jordan's better than LeBron is because everybody wanted to be like Mike. And then I throw at him, everybody wants to be like Stephen Curry right now, and he's not even close to being in the GOAT discussion.
Agreed.
So, and my point in that is Stephen Curry has changed the game.
Yes.
Does that mean he's the best player in the world? No, he's revolutionized the league. That Warriors team has revolutionized the league. The three-pointer we've never seen it like this before. So like Matthew said, just watch that Celtics-Cavs game. I think there was 8 possessions back and forth that the team just walked up the court and shot a 3. There's no attempt at having an offensive play anymore. They just kind of chuck up a shot.
I mean, look at Trevor Ariza. He would have been benched after going 0-6. He would have been benched.
Well, Houston only plays 7 guys with Chris Paul.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Yeah.
And then they had to throw Joe Johnson out there.
All right, so I can't leave this alone. So I have to ask, if we're putting a quarterback on the Mount Rushmore for this generation, who are we putting up there?
That's tough, but you can start comparing that now. You can look at Brady and Manning and actually start breaking that down because they played at the same time.
Who are you saying, Evans? He says Brady and Manning. Who are you putting up there?
No, I said one of the two. You'd have to have that discussion. You can't do both.
I can't look past the talent of Aaron Rodgers.
Dude, for me, it's not even for me, I don't even know that Peyton Manning is up there. I think it's Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, and I think it's those
Tom Brady
two.
and Aaron for me.
But you gotta look at what Manning did.
I agree.
He's a regular season.
I think Manning's an all-time great.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to put him in the
Now, if I wanted to have the conversation between the three of them, I would have it, and I'd be okay with all of it. But if I had to only pick 2, I'm going Rodgers, especially because he's only 33 right now. Let him play 6 more years, and let's see what happens.
See, he's been hurt by those injuries. He gets these nagging injuries, and his whole team just gets hurt.
Yeah,
I don't understand it.
Yep. All right. So we ran a little long today, but Austin, thank you for joining us. If you're still watching out there, if you're watching, thank you for watching. If you watched the recording, thank you for watching. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Twitch to catch all of our past podcasts there.
Don't forget we're on iTunes now, so if you have an iPhone, it's released. You can just go on the podcast app and look up the Other Side Sports Podcast. Will pop up. Hit that subscribe button. We appreciate anything like that. And if you don't have an iPhone, you can still go on the iTunes store and subscribe to us.
And then we're also set up on SoundCloud as well, but I don't think a lot of people use that, but that's okay.
Yeah, SoundCloud just so we can get it on iTunes now, so SoundCloud's kind of forgotten about.
So thank you for being with us. John, Matthew, thanks for taking the time to get on here and talk. It was fun. We'll be back next Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Same place, same time, same day of the week, same people here. Don't think we're having any special guests on, and we'll figure out the agenda as we go. So thanks for watching. See you guys next week.